You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. What's happening, folks? Happy Wednesday, everybody. How's everybody doing out there? Let's see what we got here. We got some Daryl Kramer action, Jeff Hahn, Mike Hinn.
Jason Sponsler was first.
Jason Sponsler was first. Got some John Hopen.
We're trying to get
Vince
the
Stocki.
finish line in here. Everyone's trying to get in here first now.
I was first.
Yep.
Jason
We got our
Sponsler.
friend from the UPS store.
Got a friend from the UPS
Which,
store.
by the way, I came by to bring your order to you, and I missed you a couple of times this week. I'll get it to you, though.
Yep. Awesome. Summer, how was your week?
It was good.
Cap.
I actually had a little bit of fun last weekend, learning how to do a J-turn.
You did. You did a great job, too, babe. I was really proud of you.
Oh man,
I know. It was.
That's my kind of turn.
Well, it's
but,
super. I'm a scaredy cat.
It was actually named after Jay. It has nothing to do with the shape of the car.
So I'm a scaredy cat. So I told him, I was like, I'm scared. And then, man, I tell you what, it just freaking happens so fast that it's like, bam, you're done. And then you're like, man, that was cool.
It's like last night, huh?
yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm done. What happened? What happened?
It's a family show. It's a family show.
I'm talking about the J-turn.
Oh, yeah. Obviously.
Chris, how was your weekend, man?
It's good.
Freaking quick and busy. This I'll tell you what. It's just like we have a course and it's like Wednesday all of a sudden. Jay, how was your week?
Pretty good. Chris and I went kayaking with a bunch of friends this weekend, so that was really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Drank a lot of adult beverages.
Yep. Chris did. Obviously, I didn't.
Yeah.
Likely.
Yeah.
Chris,
What was your intake on? What was that Saturday? We ain't talking about that.
Chris, myself, and Summer, we spent a lot of time laying some flooring this week. That was so much. I am so glad that's over.
I just enjoyed spending time with you, Gary.
You know,
Summer not so much, but Gary,
I hear you.
tell you what, we
That's
bonded.
okay. I'm used to people not enjoying.
We bonded
spending
over
time with
wood.
me. Oh God.
on our knees.
On our knees.
Oh wait.
Look at these knees.
But it
They're
was-
all messed up.
It was fake wood.
It was
But it was hard
faux
wood.
Well,
Faux wood.
Hard.
Don't try to church it up.
I will say that I have found that the only thing I hate more than painting is laying laminate flooring
I
or
don't
any
know.
sort of flooring.
I think I'd rather lay floor than paint.
Yeah? I don't know.
Gary would definitely rather lay the wood than
I would definitely.
Jesus. We are starting off
Wow.
with a bang tonight.
Wow, we just turned our rated real quick. We're going to
all
switch
you
this
take
over
it.
to OnlyFans. You got to pay to get in. Yeah, so anyways, we had a great week. Folks, again, we really appreciate all the love and support. Putting this pro shop in, it's because of you guys supporting us over the years. Definitely want to thank Summit Point Training Center for all their support and just being just providing a great team environment over there. We really appreciate them. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Number one thing I want to welcome everybody tonight, as well as people that are watching this in the future. One thing that I don't mention enough that I need to definitely start doing more. If you are not on our mailing list at Substack, go to Substack, Paramount Tactical. That is where our newsletter goes out, and that is where we're always going to be able to list all the stuff that we can't talk about on social media. So if you want deals, last minute, again, that's how we communicate. That's the best form of communication, especially when we're talking about, specials that we're having. Or again, we're always going to also just do special things for those that are subscribing to that. And we try not to spam you or do that too often.
Just real quick, I'll jump in and say, if you're not on the Substack, you missed a really good alert last night because our sold out long range course had 2 slots open up.
Yep.
So you can go on and see if those are still available, but things like that go out immediately via the newsletter, and you guys will be the first to know.
Yeah, and again, too, the other thing, especially having a store, we'll be able to advertise more things. Again, it's going to be via Substack, so make sure you go check that out. Tonight, you guys didn't know it, and I didn't even want to announce it as a draw to get like a bunch of new viewers in or anything else. But tonight we're going to be doing a giveaway. And I wanted to make sure that it was those of you, it was going to go to those of you that show up on the regular. So,
And show up even when we're not having a special guest or we're not having this crazy exciting thing going on. So yeah. Just our friends that show up.
So tonight, one thing that I definitely, some of the topics we're going to cover, we're going to talk about CQB, the importance of training, and how that relates to, the everyday person and why that's so important. And we got several folks on here that were actually, or at least a couple on here. How are we doing over on our Lost Boys at Rumble?
We got Otter 114. So
Otter,
good evening.
speaking of which, we got Otter here. We got Mike Hen over here. They were at our last CQB course. Folks, the amount of real world applicability that you're going to get out of that, and we'll talk more about that for CQB, for home defense, for everyday carry. It just will open your horizons for that. The other thing I want to talk about, another course that we have coming up, mid-range carbine. Both of those two courses, we got CQB, I think the week after next, and then I believe mid-range carbine. And we're going to talk about some of the different things that we're going to cover in that course. And I've already made some changes to CQB, but we also have some changes coming up with mid-range carbine as well. So one thing I want to do real quick, we got in a new item. I should say a new line of items that I'm actually pretty excited about. So we'll go ahead and pull some of these. Summer's already making fun of me because I was getting high on my own supply earlier.
He's geeking out all afternoon over this stuff.
We should
They are
try
pretty
to
cool, though.
Like,
we should try to post those pictures of you modeling it earlier.
Babe, come over here and check this out.
Check this out, babe.
Babe, stop what you're doing 15 times and come check this out.
Someone's over there pretending she's making
Oh,
money
please.
and handling business. And I got show and tell shit to do.
I mean, it was some cool shit.
So,
Which one? What further?
yeah. Better
What's
hurry
that?
up and get to the content.
Oh, he's referring
Oh,
to
yeah,
your,
yeah.
your YouTube post.
Yeah. All right, guys. What we're going to cover is this, and
The
this.
information
Goodbye.
starts at 8:30.
Yeah. I you know what? I'm not going to get started.
No, don't.
I'm not.
On to the fun stuff.
On to the fun stuff.
Do you
Why
need
is it so
help?
heavy?
Yes. Let me help you out.
All right, folks. So one of the new
Wish I could
Some-
put a
some
picture.
product review
I wish I
going
could have
on
put a
here.
picture in the chat.
of what?
Of you.
I was thinking about posting
With the
that.
bag. Here we go.
Here, hold on.
Apparently, Chris already
Breaking
did.
everything.
I need more hands.
Up here.
I need more hands. All right, so
Turn it around.
the new line of stuff that we are now carrying is Save Your Equipment, and I'm pretty stoked about this because let's kind of start where this began.
And then I'll have a funny story to tell about that. Go ahead.
No funny stories.
Dang it.
When Gary first showed this to me a second ago, I was like, man, that's a really nice range bag. And he goes, no, check this out. He starts showing me, and I say, so yeah, it's a really nice range bag.
No.
Whenever you want to
It's
finish.
an
Jason.
amazing range bag.
All right.
It
So,
is
anyways,
amazing.
the Save Your Equipment gear, and we got a couple different bags that I want to show you real quick. They're on our website right now. Number one, where this began is Brooke got in a couple of their cases that I showed you, and I thought they were pretty nice. And then I was like, yeah, we should start carrying some of those. And then we had a client come over
That's the funny
with the
story.
nicest, and I actually already started our dealer application, but I was kind of dragging my feet on that. And then we had a client come over. He dropped off a gun for some gunsmithing, and he had the nicest rifle bag I'd ever seen. I was like, man, what does this thing cost? Like $400 or $500. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's Save Your Equipment. And come to find out it's like $100. Super nice. A lot nicer than a lot of the stuff out there. But this is one of their range bags. And with this range bag, this is a med kit that I put on there. That comes separate. But with this kit, you get these 3 different envelopes. And
Pistol
inside of
sleeves.
those are each an actual gun. Pistol
There's no
sleeves.
guns in there though.
There's no guns in there.
No.
There's just a spacer.
Yeah, just sure. Anyways, and then you actually get
Labels.
6 different labels so that you can
Here.
organize all your stuff. And then you actually, you're not really.
Yeah,
there
she
you go.
was
in the light.
perfect. She did
Actually,
great, Vanna.
Jason, if you throw on this camera right here, we have
Oh, yeah.
multiple
Ooh, Yeah,
views.
here we go.
That.
Look at that.
This is
Look at that.
fancy.
And then you can get these. These are called loose nuts. No, loose sacks. Freudian slip.
Nobody-
So in this one, I got 300 rounds of 223. I got 400 rounds of 9mm, and you get 4 of these. This doesn't come in this, but you get 4 of these loose sacks, not nuts.
You guys very
loose
excited
sacks
about
for
this.
like, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks. And then you get like 8 different labels on these. So that's pretty slick. And there's a whole bunch more inside of this kit.
The sleeves did come with the bag.
The sleeves do come with the bag, but you can also order more.
Yeah, extra.
You can order separate. They do come in a bunch of different colors. I grabbed this gray one as mine because number one, I needed a nice bag to organize all my stuff. And I wanted a light colored one so you can get as much detail. And I will end up doing a video on all these things, but I thought they were pretty impressive. And I think the value in the quality, folks, the quality on these is actually remarkable. And they are made in China, just like pretty much everything else is. It's really hard to find good American-made quality stuff that isn't ridiculously
But these
priced.
do have the good zippers on still. So
They
it's
do
the
have
big
the
thing.
YKK zippers.
Yeah.
If you would see one of these in person, folks,
Yeah, you would think it was
everything is
expensive.
much more rigid. I even asked Jason, I was like,
Yeah.
hey, how much do you think this costs? He's like, I don't know. What is that thing? It was like $400. And, you know, this rain bag is like,
99?
I think it's actually 85.
No, it's 99.
Well, it's on our website for like,
It was like 89
Different-
or 84.
different
Maybe
So-
it's 89. Maybe.
anyways,
Yeah.
so
Buy them now, folks.
there's that.
Get them before it's fixed.
Buy it now.
Before,
Buy 'em
before
now
we fix
till-
it.
before someone
And-
changes it.
And you can get one of these, I think it's called IFAC Buddy. It's a
Yep.
smaller IFAC. It does have Molly on the top of this. It does have Molly on the top of that.
As well as
And then
Velcro.
I mounted that right there. So I got a whole blowout kit in here. Of course, it doesn't come with the contents, but I got a tourniquet. I got cell locks. I got a pressure bandage. I got a chest seal, a blanket, everything that I would normally have in a trauma kit. And of course, you should have one on your person if you're out there training, but it is nice to have an extra one right there at the range box, at your range bag as well.
I'll just add while you're exchanging bags. It's really cool that these come in really nice boxes.
Work through that.
The whole inside of the box, each panel of the box is targets.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, I heard you mention it earlier too. I was
That's a
like,
cool-
oh, that's cool.
That's a cool idea. Not to
Yeah.
waste the cardboard. You can
Yeah.
at least cut it up and use it.
Yeah.
I wasn't that impressed with
Yeah,
that,
I know
but
you weren't, but
Oh my god.
no one's going to cut that. I don't know. Maybe
Chris
they
is
will.
on my side.
yeah.
Yeah.
Redneck me, I'd cut that up and use it.
Frugal summer.
Yeah.
I cut it up and use it.
Did you get those shelves yet, Summer?
No. I have to start a GoFundMe for that.
You're good. Hey, Jay, turn on Chris's camera, and Chris, you can walk him through that one.
Oh, this one was the.
Hand me your drink, because that's gonna.
These are
Definitely
called
gonna-
the specialist. That was the large one was the specialist pistol case, and this is the mini specialist.
So this one
pistol
was
case.
this one's only $49.99, I think, on your all's website. If I can find the zipper, but this one will hold 2 pistols. It's got 2 envelopes inside. So
Oh,
you
that's
got
cool.
You can slip your
There's your
pistol
camera right
down.
there.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it. You can slip your pistol down in here and zip it. You got an ammo spot here. The ammo comes out. Take it with you. You got your bag holders here. It also velcros out. Take it with you. And you have 2 of them.
Or you can rearrange.
Or you can rearrange, put ammo on one side, all mags on another. And then you got another folder envelope here to put them in. They're padded inside too, which is really nice.
Yeah,
Then you
before
have-
I chuck it in the truck.
You have a monster. You can put another pistol there if you wanted. It's still padded on both sides. And then on the other side, you have a monster spot here. And it's got places you can put tools or extra mags or a pair of
Sandwiches.
pliers. You put a bag of chips in here.
Yep, that's
Some
what I
fix
need.
it. Sticks.
Some granola
Ooh,
bars.
fix it sticks.
Gummy
yes.
bears.
Gummy bears. But for $50,
Hard to beat.
before
And you get free
shipping, I mean,
targets.
and you get free
And
targets
you
with
get
it.
Free targets.
I mean, that's
Yes. So, Mike, those they are lockable, and they actually have.
oh yeah, yours had that on that, Gary. That's
So
actually
they're
pretty neat.
lockable, and on top of that, you can get these. Go back to Chris's camera. Put that up there.
Okay.
So they have the TSA approved. I don't know what's required by Maryland or some of these other states, but that is TSA approved. It's probably not going to focus on you.
Gotta
It's too
put your
close.
hand behind it like the YouTubers do.
It's going to do it on your face. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to focus on your. If it sees an eye, it's going to focus. There we
You're
go.
doing great.
There you go.
You're doing awesome.
There we go. I don't know. It's probably not going to do it. Anyways, irregardless.
Jesus.
So, and then these do come in like different colors and stuff too. So you can color coordinate. They come in pink. They come in
Teal?
gray, teal. And you get like a pack of them, like 4 of these for, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks or something. Really affordable. The price for the quality of what you get is actually pretty impressive. And then here, this is one of the rifle
I have that
bags.
lock for you, babe.
One of the rifle, and this was actually the rifle bag that the guy came over. And again, what I like about it is it's structured, right? It's padded on the inside. Everything is just really well made. And you have, if I'm going to end up taking these off, but you do have some, the shoulder straps there. It also does come with another shoulder strap that you can carry it on the
The whole
side.
front has Molly.
Front has Molly. Have a bunch of zippers. You have 2 compartments for guns in there. They have several different sizes of these as well as colors.
Yep.
But here's where things get kind of cool too. And all of this stuff, if you find a bag that, basically at the end of the day, I think you're going to be shocked at the quality and what you're getting for the money. But what is cool is they have a lot of covert bags, right? Or at least nondescript bags that don't look like gun bags. Everything from, it looks like a tennis racket, actual soft pack, but it's actually, a gun bag. And then you have things like this. Pull that over, Chris.
I think that's probably one of my favorite pieces right there.
Yeah. So these are absolutely pretty cool.
Get your Fender Strat out of here.
You can get these in a couple different colors.
There's one more latch over that other
I mean,
side.
just going through the airport with that is awesome.
Yeah.
And it says wheels on the bottom too, so you can just wheel it along.
And they have reinforced locking areas, little whatever those the eyelets. And there again, we got it foam in here. Now, what I'm actually doing, you guys know we do like custom cases and stuff like that already. So I've actually am working with Case Builder so we can do custom cutouts for this as well. But these are pretty cool. And then they have this one over here. It's meant to look like a hard case racket, but you can carry at least 2 guns in this.
It's pretty thick.
It's really thick. You got 2 gun compartments on the top. Shut up, Jay. You're so childish. Oh my God. And another gun compartment down there. And there's a bunch of compartments on the inside of this. I'm not going to open all this up. But again, I'll do a full video on this. But again, these are really cool. I think the bang for your buck is.
And you've got pictures of tennis rackets on the outside.
It does have pictures of tennis rackets. And there again, what you do with the guitar cases, you make sure you put a bunch of music stickers on there and things like that.
And then the other one, we didn't bring it out, but the violin one case too.
Yeah, so there's a violin case.
Yeah.
It's a smaller case, good for, an SBR. And it actually has straps in there where you can strap down the guns. And they have all kinds of cool accessories. Again, I'm really with the overall quality and the price point. That's what's if these bags were 3 times the price, I'd be like, oh, I would spend it. Because again, I like nice stuff. I want to definitely, we all got expensive gear, optics, guns. We want to protect that. And these things make sense. And for the price, it's kind of hard to beat. So we'll definitely have a bunch of those in our store for sure. We have them on our website. I'll just tell you right now, folks, I actually am going to discourage you from going to purchase. We just got all the stuff in. Our web guy put all the stuff up. We haven't fixed the quantities yet, right?
I did.
Oh, never mind. I'm way behind.
Hey,
on
Gary.
it. I'm on
hey,
it.
Gary.
Yes.
You know what?
Huh.
Somebody call the fire department because that shit is hot.
It is. Hey, Jason, the guitar case, I think it's only, when I looked on your site, it's only like $149.99.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all, Jason. It's
Oh, call him again. Fire
call it.
sale. Okay.
Jesus. No, I
get them where they're
fixed,
hot.
I fixed it when you left to go to the driving course the other morning.
Awesome. And folks, we're going to be giving away one of the range bags today. We'll do that toward the end of the show, so stick with us all the way through.
Sweet.
Yeah. So that.
Richie says he's been using JanSport since the 3rd grade. He really needs to upgrade.
Yeah.
Probably do. It's probably time to reward yourself.
Rocking the JanSport.
You got a starter jacket with that too? Remember the old starter jackets?
Yeah, they better be Charlotte Hornets.
Those are back in style.
I had a Knicks jacket.
Of course you did.
All right, so we're going to be doing a giveaway on that. Hey, the other thing I would like from you guys, again, I always, half the stuff that we end up carrying or I end up testing is, basically been things that people have referred us or said, hey, definitely check this out. So,
That's my funny story.
oh, okay, let's not keep the.
Please enlighten us.
I'm
Viewers.
sure I'm the only one who'll think it's funny. So this client shows up with this range bag that he brings over a gun for gunsmithing, and it's a super nice gun, all Gucci gear, gun parts and stuff. Gary's out there checking it out, I look at the client and I was like, I can already tell we're not going to make money off of this gunsmithing. It's going to cost me a lot of money. Well, little did I know it was going to cost me a lot of money in savior equipment. I thought it was going to be
Let
gun
me tell you.
parts.
So first of all,
Cost.
cost. It's called an investment.
You know how much fun we had
say-
playing with this stuff tonight?
I know.
When you put money in a 401k, do you say this 401k is costing me money?
No, 'cause it
you
makes
gotta-
me money.
You got to change
right
your
now it is.
worldview. Or,
Everybody needs to buy them out, so it'll make you money somewhere.
so, anyways, folks, always feel free to suggest gear to us, especially if it's something that we're not carrying or something like that. So we always appreciate that, and that there again just contributes to, our knowledge base. That's
Yeah.
really what it's all about. Winchell 7PRC, the best cartridge. Well, I mean, again, when it comes down to cartridges, it comes down to, what are you using it for? Best cartridge for what? Is it the best for extreme long range? No. 300 PRC is going to do a little bit more. 300 Norma. There's some better out there as far as I think a really good all-round extreme long range, but also a great hunting round. I would, if I'm going big game hunting and I want to shoot regularly beyond 1,000 yards. I think 7 PRC is an excellent round, but I'll tell you, 300 PRC is right there with it. We'll have to do we'll do a whole show on that one night.
We have a client that's flying out from California for the long range course this weekend. He's very excited to come pick up his brand new PMR Pro 2 in 7mm PRC with the extra 300 PRC barrel. So
Yep.
he has
Smart
both.
buy.
I already have a case of ammo waiting for him. His case is here, all his accessories, his
Man.
scopes mounted, and he's coming here to pick it up.
Ooh, can't hide it.
That's can't hide it, baby.
Well, and that's, folks, that's the thing that that's the corner that we kind of always paint ourselves into. We're like, you know what, the next gun's going to be the last gun.
I've literally never said that. Gary.
Or a lot of people do.
this guy.
Or
My
they
buy
want to
once, cry
find,
once.
or they want to find one cartridge that does it all, or one suppressor that does it all, and ultimately, there's none of that, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be your last gun. It's not going to be the last cartridge. It's not going to be the last one that you want. There's going to be new things that come out, or you identify other options that are already on the market. So 7PRC is absolutely phenomenal. I think it does, definitely better than 7mm Magnum, being that we have those modern long ogive bullets. So we're getting higher BCs at around the same velocity, and it's going to outperform some of the older things out there. Also with the twist rates, they're getting a lot smarter with twist rates. So some of the equivalent, the older cartridges like 7mm Magnum and things like that, you're dealing with twist rates that were based on kind of old technology or old mindsets and ideology. We've come a long way with that. We've gotten better understanding bullet construction and getting much better when it comes to twist rates. At the end of the day, looking back 20, 30 years, one of the biggest problems that we were doing is, number one, we weren't spinning bullets fast enough. Part of that was because when those twist rates were established back in the 50s, 60s, and some even 70s, we didn't have the bullet construction that was concentric enough, that was, basically when we start spinning those bullets faster, we're spinning them apart because they're just not built at the same quality and consistency. So we've come a long way in all those areas. So it is, it's a really cool time to be into long range shooting or shooting period. There's so much new things hitting the market, and there's so many advances that have taken place, especially with long range in the last 10 years. It's been phenomenal to see the new guns come out, the new cartridges, new bullet technology, new powders. I mean, all that stuff has revolutionized the way that long range is being done. So there's lots of things to explore, and it's never going to get old. There's always options out there, but 7mm PRC is one hell of a round, and you're not going to be disappointed in it, period. So it's a great option.
I have a quick question for
Sure.
for the layperson. So on barrel twist, like a 1 in 8 is a faster twist than a 1 in 9.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. So basically, for those
It
of you,
rotates one turn in
every
8.
12 inches.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's talking about every 12 inches per foot. So if it's going 9 revolutions, 1 in 9, yes. No, 1 in 7 inches. I'm sorry. So it's inches. So 1 in 8 inches is a faster barrel twist than
Then
1
1
in
in
9
9
inches.
inches. Yeah. Okay.
So that's that. And we're also, What were you thinking about?
Nothing. You dismissed Jay. We
What'd
can see
you-
it. We can see his
I
face
gave you a
tonight.
thumbs up. There it is.
You have your monitor up a little bit tonight.
I had to switch gears there. I had a brain fart.
Yeah. I was like, you're getting it, buddy.
I'll get there. I'll get there eventually.
You had explained it to me once before, but I need a refreshing.
Yeah.
Sure. You're not a fast learner.
Whoa. Got chilly
Slow
in here.
twist rate.
Chilly.
We got lots of different. We missed any other comments up here? Worth?
Well, I'll just comment real quick on what Jeff said. Great customer service with Paramount Tactical One-Stop Shop. We really do try to, well, that one
Not
too.
that one.
But Gary and I both really do try to offer great customer service and kind of make it a one-stop shop when it comes to knowledge, products, putting packages together. Sometimes we miss an email or we miss a phone call or we miss something. And I will say I've had, and this happens all the time, but even today I had like 2 clients that were just so kind in their response to me and so understanding on an order not going out on the day that they thought it would go out or something simple. But we appreciate you guys always coming back and letting us give you the great customer service.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're not perfect, but I can tell you one thing is Summer and I are both, if we get something wrong, if we get an order wrong, we ship the wrong thing or don't ship something right, we have experienced a lot of growth. And again, it was because of you. And we're still playing catch up. We're still trying to find the right people because right now we're doing the job of 4 or 5 people each. So things do get dropped. And especially with me, one thing that I've got to get more disciplined on, I have lots of clients that send me texts and things like that. And I love that relationship that we can do that. But when it comes to orders and stuff, folks, and plus my ADD, I will
And your
immediately,
age.
I will immediately 100% intend to do that. But I got to get more disciplined about making people go through an email so that Summer sees it, who's handling most of the orders and things like that. But long story short, we're going to do everything we can for you. And number 2, if we do get something wrong, we're going to make it
Or fix
right.
it, yeah.
And we do try to make sure that we give you guys customer service. Summer made a good point today, talking to another client. We're literally on the phone all day long between the 2 of us.
As well as handling all of our other jobs and shipping and orders and products and
I will
videos
say I've been on the phone. I remember one client, I was on the phone for like 45 minutes answering gun questions. And then at the end of it, he was like, so, why should I buy this from you?
Hey, at least he was like, hey.
I was like, well, I don't know. Is anyone else going to spend 45 minutes on the phone with you? But
And he bought it from us.
he did buy it from us.
Yep.
So again, we're very grateful to all of you. We're grateful to all our clients, both the training clients and the retail clients that are purchasing from us. So anyways, it is much appreciated, and we're going to continue to grow. And we're going to continue to get better every single day, constantly improving our position. One thing I want to talk about. Oh, Jeff, we put the boys to work. Trust me.
They were cutting. Well, I don't know if we should say this on YouTube.
No, tell them.
We had them running the saw last night. Gary and I are in there measuring floor, laying floor planks, and we're handing them pieces to go cut. And
Oh, they were hauling out floor out of the back room too.
Oh, yeah.
Full boxes.
Yep.
Our 9-year-old and 13-year-old can do carpentry. They have more carpentry skills than 95% of the men out there. They know exactly how to cut something, how to, measure things out. Most men out there can't even freaking work a tape measure these days. Much less
I'm okay.
Jay.
When you give you a test.
Jay, I was going to leave you out of this whole
Jay,
thing.
that's what you got me for, baby.
That's right.
All you got to do is call.
Chris, how do I use this thing?
Chris, my electric outlet's not working. I'll be right over.
There were a couple of moments last night. I'm like, what would Chris do if he were?
Sorry, Gary.
No, I didn't mean it
No,
that
I
way.
mean, I've never laid flooring.
Yeah.
But when it comes, I had a handyman business. I can build shit. I mean,
Yeah.
do stuff regularly, but I've never laid flooring before. And
You can check that off the list.
It's kind of a, it's its own kind
Skill
of animal.
acquired.
It is.
But we appreciate you, buddy.
Yep.
Because we wouldn't have done it without you.
Got your back.
I've laid on the floor a couple times.
All right.
Jay has as many talents, and I don't know what else. He has his personal traits that are great.
Yeah.
It's the charming personality for me.
Yeah. That's why they keep
You can't not be happy being around Jay.
Being handy is not one of them.
Not one of them, no.
No,
it's
Jay's
not that
handy
line.
when he talks. I mean, I'm telling you. Let me tell you something about it,
It's
Jay.
the
right.
storytelling for me. Like, if you want a good story, listen to a Jason story.
No, watch a Jason story.
There you
It
go.
is. It
Watch
is.
a Jason story.
It is played out and mimed out the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's talk about a couple things that I want to get to tonight. I'm sure many of you will have questions. Number one. one. And number two, we do have CQB coming up. I would love to see more enrollments than we have right now on that. Folks, I'm telling you right now, that is one of the most exciting courses that you will ever do. And we have people on here that can attest to that.
And if you were in the last CQB course last month, this CQB course will be in a different venue.
It will be at a different venue. It'll be at a different
Building
it'll still be
on the
yeah,
facility.
Still be at Summit.
different TAC maze.
Yeah.
It's a different TAC maze.
So it'll be a different experience.
Will not be the same.
And then mid-range carbine. So even if you've been to our mid-range carbine, I just finished kind of redesigning that. Me and Brooke were bouncing some things off. So typically what we do on the mid-range carbine is we are running day one out at Peacemaker, shooting out to about 500. And then day two, we're at another place that's about around the same range. So what we're going to end up doing is running day two out at Frontier, which is essentially our 1,000-yard range. We're going to work with Peacemaker to get some additional targets. It's going to allow us to push out to well beyond 700 or 800. We're going to shoot from a different spot. I think that will give us a little bit, but really push those. The other thing that we're going to do with that, and this goes back to, I thought about this on my Frontier video. You know, showing you guys when you guys come to, I think the main thing with this is really understanding what your ballistic drop is and getting away from these kind of rule of thumb things that we see on the interwebs where it's like a 50-yard zero or this zero. Ultimately, if you really want to know what your bullet is doing over the flight of that, you need to know what bullet you're using. You need to know your muzzle velocity. You need to know the BC, and you need to know where it makes sense to zero that. And that's the piece that I don't think we covered enough. We gave you a little bit more of the, hey, this is what a 25-yard zero does. This is what a 36-yard zero does. This is what a 50-yard zero does. And then we kind of picked it for you. And I think that's the wrong answer. Just going back to, I was really thinking about that more in depth when we were doing when I was doing that Frontier video. Yep.
Mid-range carbine. I haven't heard much about it before. So is that typically 223 556?
223 556.
Shooting out that far
We're
consistently?
Yep.
Wow.
We have a couple clients that bring like a 6 arc or 300 blacks, things like that. So if any
That's
of those
cool,
guns, you can really bring any rifle, right? So
I mean, you still talking 16-inch? Or are you talking 18, 20, 22?
you get 16-inch.
Oh, wow,
That's what I
okay.
run. And honestly, look, I mean, you know, whether you're running a 10-inch barrel, whatever else, folks, those guns are still supersonic at 800 yards.
Yeah.
What about optics?
That's
for a
exactly what I was going to go to next.
We're going to get into
Okay.
that. So we'll cover this. So the first thing I want to talk about is the CQB. And I really want to talk about the main takeaways because there's a lot of folks out there that are like, hey, you know what? I don't need to take a CQB course. I'm not a freaking military or law enforcement or anything like that. And you couldn't be more wrong. Mike Ken said, throw that comment. Mike was out there. CQB was excellent. Lots of great shooting on the first day at the new range. Great time in the shoot house on the second day.
Mike, sorry I missed you, buddy.
Otter said the same thing, pretty much. He said CQB was great class.
Yeah. So here's why I think that everybody needs, and Jeff Hahn and those of you other folks that have done any sort of, that have been in the military and combat arms and have done CQB at every level. CQB, you have to manage so much in 360 degrees, and it's a completely different environment. And also, you're also dealing with multiple guns. You're dealing with a pistol and a rifle. So day one, we're really working on weapons transitions, and we're out on the flat range. We're going to throw a lot at you with the new automated target systems. Lots of cool stuff there. Really getting in a good habit of getting away from doing attack mag reload or emergency reload, and or going right to any sort of malfunction drills to where you're switching weapon systems. You have to transition. It's so much faster. And folks, even people that have taken our CQB course, they'll have a gun jam inside the shoot house the next day, and they're immediately trying to fix that gun, when what we should be doing is absolutely going to that secondary weapon system. So there's a lot to learn there. And then on top of that, now we're throwing you in a CQB environment. And there's some things on this podcast that I can't really talk about that we do in that course. But what I can tell you is that you are going to get another level of realism that you just can't get anywhere else, right? On top of that, we're going to give you good techniques where it's 1-man clearing, 2-man clearing, and then in CQB level 2 and 3, we're going to advance that to team clearing and everything else.
Let's talk about
Jay, go ahead.
Training in general, right, folks? So when we're doing all the shooting and everything like that, what people don't realize, especially when it comes to CQB, right? If you have to think about what to do with your piece of equipment in your hands, you can't think tactically about the situation ahead of you, right? So people want to do CQB, but in reality, how many hours do you really have to spend where that tool in your hand is like a part of your body? So no matter what happens, all right, you know exactly how to fix it while taking in tactical information and evolving to that, right? So that's the biggest thing. So when it comes to that CQB stuff, it's cool, it's great, you should really learn it, but you can't go faster than your brain can think, if that makes sense.
Well,
right?
the other thing that I think that really draws that out is
And that's just training in general.
in general, absolutely. But the thing is when you're in a CQB and now you have an open doorway, you have a hall that you have to negotiate, you have to clear this room, you have dead space, folks. You don't even get a chance to think about weapons manipulation or marksmanship.
Yeah.
And it forces you, number one, you identify your weaknesses real quick. But the big thing that CQB training does, and why I think it's so important for civilians or people that are doing self-defense, everyday carry, anything else, is you realize that problem solving and thinking tactically is the number one most important thing. That is what is going to save your life. You know, if you apply good tactics and you make good tactical decisions, you can be a really shitty marksman and still survive and even win a gunfight. But if all you're doing is focus, if every single problem is, if every single solution is you using this to freaking solve that problem, folks,
Done.
you're going to be so target focused, and you are absolutely going to not be successful in a gunfight. That's the reality. And CQB makes you problem solve. It makes you be aware of those around you. It makes you be aware of threats that will pop up out of nowhere, that you are just used to being lazy. You're used to being lazy because the only thing that you need to focus on is on a flat range with, you got a couple targets in front of you. So folks, I'm telling you, your situational awareness, your ability to problem solve, and I will also tell you, it really does, it makes people that on day one are struggling on the gun handling to some extent. I see them, they just naturally pull their shit together when they're in a room or in a shoot house. Not always, maybe not even the first time, but it really does. It forces you to make those things. You start doing more things subconsciously, and you'll be surprised at how well you do them right. And again, you get lots of repetitions. We're going to show you over and over and over. But I'll tell you, you know, there was always a debate when we first started doing this. And I've had this discussion with both people on my team, people on our instructor staff, you know, whether or not we should even offer CQB to civilians. And I struggled making that decision for a long time. And then I was like, you know what? Number one, they can get that training somewhere else, and they do, by the way.
Yeah. 100%.
And number two, we might as well teach them. And then I started thinking, you know what? Again, because the argument is, well, we shouldn't teach them because that could be used against law enforcement. Well, you know what? Any firearms training that we teach can be used against law enforcement. And on top of that, if we go back to our founding principles, where, you know what, we shouldn't keep certain tactics away from the populace and only give it to the state. I disagree with that, both from a weapon standpoint and definitely from a tactics standpoint. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm telling you, folks, you will be a much better person when it comes to home defense. You will be much better when it comes to everyday carry, and you'll be able to think much faster and problem solve faster. And it forces you to make good decisions in split seconds. And of course, you're going to get a lot of decisions wrong. Just like Jay and I and Jeff, we've sat in shoot houses and ran through that shoot house, same exact shoot house, 1,000 times, hours upon hours and upon hours. And guess what? Almost every time we get one little thing wrong. And then you switch positions, you know, instead of number one man or the breacher, now you're switch positions, and you gotta get your shit together and figure that part out.
Well, it's just like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off
you're
here,
good.
but bringing up this point right here, it's an exercise in processing information, right? So this is the difference between professionals and amateurs. So a professional makes mistakes, but they can fix it very rapidly because they can assess, all right, and come to it because they can take in that information and see they missed something and somebody else behind you fixes it and picks it up, right? Or I fix it and picks it up, right? So it's all about processing information. Whereas an amateur, it takes much longer to fix the mistake, and that's what those repetitions get.
And Jay, that you kind of touched on an excellent point there. When you're on the range and you're just shooting at, it was just dumb luck, blind squirrel syndrome. But you know, that's the thing on the flat range when you're just shooting at the target in front of you, or you're doing a drill or whatever else is going on. Even when we put you through some scenarios, some scenario-based training, you're only focused on you. When you're in a CQB environment, you not only have to make sure that you have your stuff together. If the guy in front of you or behind you drops the ball, you have to be watching them and pick up their slack and cover their six.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, folks, that is such a powerful training tool. You know, and Jeff Hahn said it perfectly right there. CQB is a Stanley Cup. Throw that up there, Jay. Stanley Cup of shooting. It's not knowing where the targets are or looking through barriers at targets or staying in your lane. Every single run is a blind run, which, you know, again, competitive shooting or even some of the shooting scenarios, we do some blind scenarios on the ranges. I think that's really important because we're starting to move people toward that mindset or that skill set of being able to process information and make decisions under stress. But every single room that you go into, every single hallway that you came out of, now you have to go back into, that you're retaking that hallway, you're retaking ground that you gave up. Every single part of that is a blind scenario. And then when you go into the room in a different order or a different setup, or the room is slightly different, or even the same room, and now you got a piece of furniture there, folks, you process, your brain's about to explode trying to figure out what you got to do right. And then, you know, you've been listening to me or Jay or Derek or whatever else talk to you about how you're going to take down a room and the different steps of that. And now you're trying to process all that. And folks, it's one of the best training environments and one of the training scenarios that you can absolutely get into. And I think it's so important for civilian gun owners. It will just take your training and your understanding of weapons manipulation as well as problem solving to just a whole new level.
Yeah. Brings up, Jeff actually brought up a question here earlier. What are the prereqs?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
So go ahead, Gary.
So that's a great question. All right. So if you're going to come to one of our CQB courses, at a minimum, you have to attend our handgun level 1, level 2. You also have to attend carbine level 1, level 2, and you have to take a med course. So, you know, I could fill these courses every single time if I just did open enrollments like some of these yahoos out there. Number one, even what we're doing on the flat range, we're doing live fire. Everything else is simunitions. Day 2 is all simunitions. But anyways, everything is simunitions, shooting paper targets. But day 1 is we're practicing clearing thresholds. We're practicing some of those things. They're, again, a dynamic environment. You're shooting on the move. So we need to make sure that you're squared away, and we need to personally verify that you are safe with a gun.
Yep.
You're safe around other people. You have your wits about you, and you're not a jackass that showed up and think you're John Wick.
Yeah, that's kind of like because I still even go back and forth with you on this, the CQB stuff. I'm always go,
I don't care.
Right? You know, yeah, right. You know, should we do this? Should we not do this? Right? But again, right, it's being taught out there, right? So might as well
teach it correctly.
Right? But the prereqs are really there because, one, we're assessing the people as they come through each course, right, on whether they can come to a CQB course, right? Because some people aren't there yet, right?
Nope.
And again, right, everyone wants to take a course and go on to the next course, but sometimes there are people that should be taking the first course over, right? It is what it is. So the prereqs are there to, one, talk about those manipulations, right? And talk about those weapon manipulations over and over. Yeah, manipulations, right? By the way, folks, tonight I have Evan Williams, Bottled and Bond.
All right.
It's my daily.
Well, since we're talking about that,
what do you got, Chris?
I am drinking the Eagle Rare.
Woo!
Go ahead,
You brought the
to
fancy stuff.
Switch to the other camera. You can just look at this.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, look at this nice bottle. I cracked it before I got here.
There we go.
You
Brought
know?
the fancy stuff today.
Sheesh.
All right.
But no, we'll go back to what you're saying, Jay. I don't think those prereqs for Gary, I don't think those prereqs are out of line at all.
Yeah, no, it's not only
looking
an
from
assessment,
me,
but
not on your all's level.
Going back to that,
Yeah.
folks, if there is someone offering CQB without some significant prereqs,
I would be.
I would not be going to that course.
Yeah, I would be.
because it is stupid.
Wary about
Because if you think about it, folks, it is. It is.
Yeah,
It's
it-
I
stupid.
mean, it makes sense. It's,
You know, before I ever did CQB, I had thousands of hours on the range. You know, just qualifications, pistol, thousands and thousands of hours on the range, and then you get to CQB. You're going to do that thing dry without ever firing around. You're going to spend weeks just running through the house, going bang, bang, bang. Maybe if you're real squared away, you got some blanks. But I remember our CQB train up going into Iraq. I was still with the 101st at the time, still with conventional army. And that's another thing that Jeff talked a little bit. Throw that bottom comment of Jeff on, because this is actually extremely important. Is also a user lose skill, equipment changes, tactics change, everything evolves. You need to keep going back and doing it over and over. Additionally, teammates change, making you better. 100%. So first of all, you could take our level 1 CQB 1,000 times and you would never not get something out of it. Besides the fact that we have at least 3 different tac mazes that we can use, every time you go into a different room, folks, at a different position, doing, you know, with a different target in a different room, everything changes. But I do want to talk a little bit about pre 9/11 philosophy and how that has changed. And I often run into, especially working for the government. When I first got out of the military, I was literally like 3 months off of combat deployment with, you know, special operations. And then I came and I worked for the Department of State in this tactical unit, right? So we were teaching basic special agent course and the high threat tactical course at the time. And the people that were in charge of that were guys that I'll just say, they were at CAG, they were at Delta, but they were gotten out in like the, I don't know, late 80s or something like that. And folks, they were so stuck in their mindset. The whole leadership was so stuck in this pre 9/11 mindset, because this is, as someone that saw before and after 9/11 and how much it changed. So first of all, I remember those CQB train ups going into getting ready to go to Iraq. And I remember being in the shoot house, and, you know, our instructors in there, military instructors were like, all right, guys, this is how you do CQB. This is the right way. There's one way, and that's the only way.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Navy's going to do it one way, you know, the Marine Corps is going to do it another way, and their way sucks. And here's why it sucks. Well, you know, come to find out, when we went to Iraq and we got out of playland, right? We got out of these pre-constructed shoot houses and where everything was kind of tactics were set up around that environment. Number one, our tactics weren't as good as what we thought they were. Number two, we found out real quick that the enemy changes, right? They adapt to our tactics. A lot has changed since then. And I will say, when I'm talking to, you know, pre 9/11 vets and no, all love for every veteran out there, but I will say there was a mindset, because we know as post 9/11 vets, seeing how tactics have evolved, weapons have evolved, and all those things play on each other, right? When you get new weapon systems, your tactics change. When you are driving a light-skinned up armor versus a, you know, fully armored in wrap with a freaking remote weapon system on top, things change, and you better adapt, and you better use those to a tactical advantage, or you're an idiot, right? But there is a pre 9/11 mindset that they were taught one way, and there's no need to really evolve. And post 9/11 guys, for the most part, have a much more, they'll listen, they'll accept, you know, again, and most of them have the experience to say, okay, that's a bullshit tactic, or it's not. But you got to evolve, because Jeff is exactly right. When equipment changes and the enemy changes, your environment changes, all those things have to be taken into account, and you need to be constantly evolving.
Yeah. Well, you know, two things with that, right? One is that you and I alone, we're not running through shoot houses a lot. We're not processing information fast anymore, so we're slower at processing
100%.
information. You lose it, right? Second of all, right, most of those things like pre 9/11 all came from Vietnam time, right? Like
100%,
Vietnam.
yep.
So I mean, one day we're going to be the Vietnam guys, right? Until the next war. And it's going to be like, oh no, this is how you do it. Right. Like,
hopefully don't talk like that.
I probably, but with the many cigars I smoke.
Just the fact that you can identify that and say, hey, is indicative of a different mindset altogether. Knowing that, like, hey, you know what? There's going to be future wars. Other things are going to take place, and our information and our tactics are going to be outdated.
Oh, for sure.
Just the fact that you can say it, but there is a different mindset with pre 9/11 folks where it's like, no. These tactics are good anywhere, and fundamentals are good anywhere. Fundamentals are, without a doubt, always relevant.
Yeah.
But how you apply those fundamentals in different situations, using different weapons, all the things we just talked about, rapidly change. And that is just the fact that you state that, Jason, and understand that is a fundamental shift from, previous veteran mindsets. That's been my experience.
Well, it doesn't matter. We're gonna have Space Wars next, so
We are going to have Space
I
Wars.
can't wait.
Space Wars.
We'll be like, this is how you clear a room. Well,
Yeah.
now all the rooms are
It's
circular,
space.
jackass. Where's your point of domination in a round room?
Yeah.
I
Ever
don't
been
know.
on the moon?
What do you mean you're going to the middle of the room? Jeff says, my first company, Sergeant Major Pete Hamburg, was a 2-time Silver Star Vietnam veteran. All the leadership was. Yeah. And again, the way the guys did in Vietnam was very different than the wars we fought in World War II. And I bet Korea and Vietnam were pretty similar. But,
Swoosh. I don't know.
very similar kind of jungle terrain, mountainous terrain.
Yeah, for sure.
But it definitely wasn't the war that we had in World War II for the most part.
Man, I remember when I was
He's
in
about to
South
tell a World War II story.
Yeah.
I remember
I remember, yeah.
chasing Rommel across the deserts of the Sahara.
So there I was on the
beach.
Speaking of which, it's D-Day today.
Yeah, it is D-Day today.
It
Yep,
is.
yep.
I actually was meant to make a note to mention that.
Back when boys were men and men were heroes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where was I going with
back
this?
where you were in World War II.
Oh yeah, back when I was in World War II. No, I was in South Korea. I was working with the Korean rock forces, and I remember going through their terrain. And I was like, man, this is some steep stuff out here. It was a good stroll. It was a good stroll. I was thinking about those Korean vets. I was like, this must have sucked. Must have sucked.
Back
real bad.
to D-Day, we were showing the boys.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Back to I just want to mention it before I forgot it. But back to D-Day, we were showing the boys a really cool video yesterday where all the Americans that are buried in France in the cemeteries there, they have
French
caretakers.
yep.
The French caretakers take sand from the beaches and rub
the
it into
beaches.
the names on the headstones so that you can see the names
Wow.
to create contrast. And it's really, really
That
cool.
sand has like a naturally like it
Darker-
it's
like a dark
golden.
tan.
Yeah, it's like golden looking. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Huh.
And they rub it into the white headstones. so
Well,
you
they
can
do
see the
that for
names.
over like almost 10,000, like 9,900 something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Funeral spots there.
Headstones.
Headstones. Yeah. So, again, definitely things change and you need to stay up to date as current as possible. But beyond that, again, even if we were teaching old style CQB, which we're not, we're teaching pretty updated stuff. And the point of that is learning to do that and be able to process that much information and what's going on and think tactically, folks. It will be such a huge benefit to you. I can't stress that enough. Moving on to mid-range carbine. All right, I know this is always going to be gear intensive, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Chris, I know you had some questions.
Yeah.
So let's talk about mid-range carbine overall. So what you got?
First off, I mean, just have you're saying typical 16-inch carbine.
Yep.
Let's start off with optics. What do you suggest? I mean, because this is me at home.
Yep.
I have a longer range setup, AR, 18-inch barrel. It's chambered in 223 Wild. I think it has a 3x9x40 on it. Super heavy. You know what I mean? I don't know if I would want to carry that for tactical carbine, but then I have my quote unquote tactical carbine set up with, I think I have a Vortex red dot on that one.
Sure.
So which, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so-
it's purpose built. So I'm just wondering if there is a crossover or not, or
So what you're talking about is basically almost a SPR, a special purpose rifle build, right? So usually what we issue in the military, I can't think of the Mark. I think it's Mark 13. I can't think of the
Mark 13. Yep.
designation that we have now. So it's a purpose-built long-range AR, chambered in 5.56. So that is ideal, right? So you want a purpose-built for long-range stuff, mid to long range, and then you have, ideally, I always think of it like this: we would have almost like a golf bag with different clubs. Same thing with AR. And I actually did that in Iraq and Afghanistan. I had a 6-inch upper that I ran that if I knew was going to be primarily in CQB. And also it was nice to have a full 5.56 truck, basically truck gun, right? So I could actually maneuver this inside a truck if I needed to shoot from inside the truck or anything like that. And then I had another upper that I had, I think it was an L can on it, like a 1 or 4. It was a flip switch. But I had that set up, and I actually had a bunch of 77 grain SMK that I was using for that. So I also had different ammunition, right? So that's ideal. Now, what I have kind of done is I do have several different ARs, but I have taken my 16-inch gun and I've tried to find the best of both worlds, right? So I have a 1:8 variable optic, and I use that for CQB. 16-inch isn't perfect for CQB, but it's absolutely acceptable. And then, but I can also reach out and I can shoot 1,000 yards with that.
Okay.
The challenge with shooting 2 through 3 that far is you do get some variability, right? You're not going to get impacts every single time. It's much more prone to wind drift, all those things. It's not a super long range cartridge. The other challenge too, just spotting, is when you start shooting 600 yards and beyond, it actually starts getting really tough to even see impacts with the 223, and it's hard to see trace. So those are all challenges. I like the idea, if you're going to have kind of one gun that does it all, some sort of variable optic, a 1:8, a 1 to, now they have 1 to 10, 1 to 6, 1 to 4, something like that. But those really, Jeff, I think you're right. I think it is a Mark 12.
It is a Mark 12.
Yep.
I just looked it up. I said, because I thought about it, I was like, man, is it the 12 or the 13?
I don't know. It's a Mark,
but
something.
it's a 12. Yeah, for the
12, 13.
Yeah, it's a 12. The 13's more of a like a Remington 700 package, but
I don't think that's right
it's
either.
different, but
Irregardless. Point being,
yeah, it's a Mark 12.
Point being is you can shoot a lot further with 5.56 or 2.23 than most people think. But again, you got to know the hold-offs. You got to know what your bullet is doing at distance, and then you got to take into account wind and all that. You really got to take into account wind.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with the 5.56 is really wind.
You definitely want you want something like 65 and up grain, up to like 77 grain. I don't think they make anything heavier, and I'd have to look at that.
And then more on a quality brand as well.
Yeah, you definitely.
I'm sure that plays a huge part. You don't want to go out and get Tula steel case.
No,
you're right.
Well, surprisingly though, I shot that Frontier ammo, and you guys, most of you have seen that video. If you haven't, go watch that video. But that ammo is extremely affordable, and that was right up there as far as accuracy, with some of the expensive brands that are twice as much. They're considered match. So I got really good results with that. The 68 grain. I actually just got in some of the 75 grain 5.56 that I haven't tested yet, and I plan on testing that pretty soon. I was expecting to get similar. I also had the 68 grain 5.56 and 68 grain 223. I got much more consistent results with the 68 grain 223. I was hoping that we'd get a little bit more velocity out of the 5.56. Which we did. I think we got like another, but it wasn't grouping. It wasn't grouping it at near or distance. And I tested them both as good as the 223. And the SDs on that were definitely much higher than the 223 Frontier 68 grain. But I do want to test out that 75 grain. I expect similar results with the SDs and the variants in muzzle velocity. But who knows? You never know. Could be completely different.
The last comment right there. What do you think about that, Jason's?
Also, what about a 1:8 in a red dot on a 40-degree mount?
I'm just asking because
Yeah.
on my red dot one, I have the 45-degree can't mount just iron sights on it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's
the problem you have
cool
with
or
red
not.
dot. The problem you have with red dots is when you're going out to that distance, right? Is that minute of angle, right? Those things are not.
Well, no, I think
He's-
what
he's
he's saying,
talking
Jay, is
about
1 to
it-
8 on top, and
Yeah.
then your red dot on the
I
can't.
gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So
I read that
here,
wrong.
here's what
we
I've
know.
seen. I haven't ran that setup. Had thought about running that setup. Here's the problem with that is that we started getting into some issues. I'm trying to think. Just recently, a client had one of those setups, and we really played around with that a lot. I'm trying to think what the main issue was. You know, if you were, I don't have any issue with that at all, but I will say, you know, turning your gun and having to shoot it at 45, you just need to get lots of reps out of that.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too is, oh, that's what it was. I remember exactly what the problem was. So we were doing many different drills, and sometimes when he was meaning to keep that gun and go to the 1 to 8, he was turning it or vice versa. So
Oh, he was mixing it up when he wanted to
when
do.
you know, when we're just on the range and there's no stress or we're just chill, like we can sit there and we can think about what we got going on. But now you're asking your eyeball to adjust to 2 different optics on 2 different planes, and then we got to turn the gun. And so we're really throwing a lot of different variables into a system that really isn't meant that. And I will say, you know, if you're running a 1 to 8, I'm not sure that that's necessary, right? Yeah, so Mike N says it right there. You know, I've tried that setup. I haven't been quick with it. And the winch knob still partially blocks the view.
Oh.
And you can play around with where you mount, because you can actually mount. I've seen people, you know, there's no parallax or there's limited parallax in a red dot, depending on which one you run. So you can actually mount that optic forward or in front of your
winch
optic.
knobs.
But again, going back and forth, doing that under stress, I'm not sure that I buy into that. And I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of reason. What I do think is really important is if you're running any sort of optic, whether it's a red dot or any sort of magnified optic, is make sure you have that mounted with the throw lever and definitely have some backup sights. And most people will say co-witness. That's great. Co-witness is absolutely fine and not a bad option, but that only covers you if you run out of batteries. If it's some sort of illuminated dot or you need that. But what happens when you actually break that optic or the glass is cracked? Now we need to make sure that we can throw that optic off and we have some sort of backup sight. So that's the way my gun is set up. You know, I have my Trigicon 1 to 8 first focal plane. Definitely recommend first focal plane. It's the only way to go with a low power variable optic, in my opinion. But it also has a quick detach or quick attach mount, so that if it does break or something goes down, I can throw that off, and now I can throw up my backup sights, and I have a functioning weapon.
So going back to that 1 to 8 power thing, right, with the red dot on the side. And I always forget the name of this technique, right? It's named after somebody. I always forget what it is.
We'll
right?
just call it the J technique.
Yeah.
We'll give it to you.
No, it's named after somebody. I can't remember it, but it's a technique that's out there.
Mr. Miyagi.
And when you have a low
Probably T-Rex.
low power
The
variable
T-Rex
optics,
arms
right?
technique.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
And you have a illuminated dot inside. What technically you can do is you actually keep the cover closed, right? And as you're looking through both eyes, you can use that as a red dot, and you can keep it on power 8 the whole time with the front cover closed. If you're using both eyes open, like you should be using a red dot anyway, right? As you bring that up, you'll look past the scope and you'll see your target. You'll see the red dot with the cover closed. And if you need the 8 power, boom, you flip up the top, right? And that works. And then now you have.
You talk about with the doing that on the 8 power.
Yeah. So essentially what you do is.
I know what the technique is.
Yeah.
Your eyes are going to overlay the image, and,
Right,
and we
right,
do that with
right,
red dots all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, right.
But
So-
I'm not sure that I would.
Well, what I'm saying is you can keep it on full power.
You're saying leave it on
right?
8, then you just flip the
could,
cover
right?
open.
And
We're
you
like,
can
oh.
use the scope as a red dot, right? Essentially, because it's got the illuminated
Right.
dot inside. So you don't need a red dot on the side. You can use this technique, use that optic as a red dot, and then if you need the full power, boom, you actually just pop off the.
Well, for people like me, Jay,
Well,
that would be
hold on. So
hours
it's a
upon
technique
hours
out there.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying, but
Yeah.
but here's the reality of this too: is if you have that on 8 power and there's suddenly a guy at 25 yards, you're still going to do the same thing. Because
100%.
you have your primary focus, your dominant eye, and you are now looking at this person at 25 yards or whatever it is. And by the way, the only other issue with that, Jay, is that is only going to work. It only works to like 25, 30 yards at most, and it's usually considered more to 1 to
you're
10.
right.
But I hear what you're saying. Is it's not it's irrelevant.
Yeah,
you know,
all I'm
suggestion.
saying is that you don't need a red dot on the side. You can use that variable powered scope, right?
Yeah.
As a red dot for all that close distance. And you can leave it on 8, you can leave it on 1, it doesn't matter,
Sure.
right? But if you need to use more power, right, you flip up the front cover, and then you can use your power, however much you want in there.
You can
But
use your
you
power
can
however you want,
yeah,
but
yeah,
make
yeah,
sure
yeah.
you use your power
Yeah,
only for good.
it was He-Man. I have the power.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that I think is most important about a first focal plane optic too. Is
Yeah.
when you have that dialed down to 1, is essentially, I know, like my Trigicon and many others,
Yeah.
it almost looks like a EOTech, right? So it usually has like a 36 MOA circle with a 1 MOA dot, but then when you dial that thing up, it's going to expand out. That reticle is going to grow with commensurate with the magnification that you're using. So now you can use that at distance. But what I was with that though, like that's why you want that. And I actually kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but you definitely want a first focal plane optic on that.
Well, what I think you were saying, if you have a second focal plane, right, you're going to have everything inside of that.
Oh no.
scope.
Here's what I was going to say
There
with
you
that. When you have a 1 to 8, if you're dealing with multiple targets at multiple distances, you don't have to keep it at 1 to 8. Like just dial that thing down to like 2. 2 you can use at CQB distances, but 2 you can also use. It's going to be an advantage if you're shooting at 300, 400 yards. I mean, there was a time when we never used any sort of magnified optic, and we can easily shoot out to 300-400 yards with 2 power. And then, my God, if we dial it up to 4, or you were like us, that we went into Iraq and Afghanistan running a Trigicon that was stuck at 4 power for CQB and distance shooting. So,
Daryl, I always use the force.
because Jeff makes a great comment on here, and point is, folks, the less stuff you got hanging off your gun, the
Yeah.
better off you are. And that's what I
You
try
don't
to-
look as cool though.
you don't look as cool until you
Just on
get
the side.
so you start doing some CQB or something like that.
You're carrying that
where you're
SOB
now you're
around.
manipulating your gun around obstacles, around other people and everything else, and now you got a thing sticking out there at 45 that's hung up on everything.
Yep.
That is another reality too, and another reason that when you start actually training and putting yourself in all these different environments and all these different situations, other than just standing up and shooting at one target that's sitting there, suddenly all the stuff that you think is cool and makes sense no longer makes sense, and you're proving your gear as much as you're proving yourself.
We got a Pew Pew Drew. I haven't seen his name
agree.
before, so welcome if I haven't seen you before. Got a red dot height recommendation.
Yeah, so I will tell you, Drew, I'm sold on a higher mount, like the Unity mounts. As soon as I saw people start using that, it made perfect sense to me. And having used some of those mounts now, being able to keep your head up. Now, a lot of those mounts will actually allow you to use iron sights underneath them. They have a hole that you can see through there. But being able to keep the gun shouldered, and again, usually when I'm actually have my buttstock,
Almost center
it's
chest.
usually more like right here. It's not really on my shoulder pocket. I have it more center line. But having a buttstock here and not having to bring my gun down and squish up my shoulder to get into your optic, I think is ideal. Having your head up in a normal neutral shooting position, just like you should be doing with pistol, instead of this. We shouldn't be doing that, right? With a rifle, a lot of times with those lower mounts, even if you're doing 130, anything like that, now you're having to go low. So I'm sold on the idea of having these higher mounts that allow you to keep your head up, keep your arms relaxed, gives you more situational awareness, not having to squish your neck and head down into an uncomfortable shooting position.
So on that note, there's a lot of studies done by this, is that the more natural position you can have, like as your head, like if you were walking straight up, the higher you can hold your head as you would walk naturally, you're going to process information faster.
100%.
Right? If you have to bring your face further down to it, your eyes are going to be pushing up towards the top of your head. Let's just call it the forehead, right? And when your eyes
I
are
think
not
that's
looking,
technically what it's called.
yeah.
That's what's above your
Oh,
eyes.
anatomical
Let's just
master,
throw a
right?
random
Yeah.
nomenclature on this.
We'll call it the forehead.
But
Like
if-
that breathing device in the
if
middle of
you're
your face.
looking
We'll just call it a nose.
if you're looking through the top of that optical nerve and not straight through it, you're actually processing information slower, right? So you want to be straight up when you're doing stuff. You want to look up as you're moving. So anything that's going to cause your head to come further down or look up towards your head is going to be processed information slower.
Yeah, and
Wow.
even what?
I didn't know Jason had so much knowledge
Jason's-
in that
Jason-
brain
Well,
of his.
you know why?
We're talking optical
Summer.
nerve.
Yeah, every now and then. Hold on. I want to
Because
say
he's
this.
been
Every
looking up
now
his
and then.
whole life. They're saying that's why you're so slow to get on target, Jay, because you're looking up at the people for their height. They explained it to him earlier in life.
He's like, look, if I could just be a little bit taller, I'd be able to get on target a lot faster.
So
No, but
don't
I
hold
will
that against
say,
me.
hold on, I want to make this point. Everybody remembers Old School, where
The movie?
they're Old School the movie.
Which scene?
So they're doing the debates, and suddenly he's like, no. Every now and then, Jay has a moment like that. You're like, where the?
No, I wasn't trying to call Jason stupid or anything. I
Then
was
he
just
goes,
like,
"No,
wow,
what
I didn't
happened?
know
That is
that
blacked
you.
But
all this
suddenly he'll just be
stuff.
endowed with this moment of clarity that it's quite amazing to watch. We should
was a
luckily this was
well
recorded.
Well, I
endowed
only
moment of
brought one
clarity.
drink with me tonight.
Well,
so
Jay,
that's
I
the
got
problem.
here, buddy.
Oh, sweet.
All right, so
Walk on over.
let's talk about. We got a couple questions about ACOGs.
I can't afford them, so
Like when we're talking about, look, here's what I'll say. Ultimately, I don't like an idea of a 4-power fixed. I think number one, ACOGs are very expensive. I think
for
they're
what they are.
here's what you're paying for. You're paying for absolutely one of the most robust bomb-proof optics on the market. That's what you're paying for. Is it worth the price? Yes. Do I think you have better options on the market and that will give you a performance enhancement? Try to take care of your gun. Don't drop it out of a freaking Blackhawk, and you're probably going to be fine with not running an ACOG. I think I like that. I have the Trigicon 1-8, and I love that. I think it's very robust. It's a great optic. I would, if people were like, I'll give you 2 ACOGs for that, I wouldn't do it. Where even though the price point is much higher on the ACOG, you can get that 1-8 Trigicon for like around $1,200-$1,300. And there's lots of other good options. Primary Arms has some great variable power optics out there. So me personally, and I cover this in our tactical carbine courses, I think if you kind of want one optic that's going to pretty much do it all, it's hard to beat a 1 to 4, 6, or 8 power variable optic. I think those are really the best of all the worlds. Do you give up some in CQB? Because you do. The biggest thing, and again, when you have a lower magnification, you have a much more forgiving eye box and eye relief, and the exit pupil is larger. So you don't have to be perfect like you do on a very high power or a scope that is set to a high power. If you guys know, if you're shooting an optic, you got it set in 25x. You better have everything in alignment, or you'll have that silhouetting or the vignetting rather, and you're breaking that eye relief. Whereas when you have that on a 1-8, number one, if you look at the exit pupil on that, which is what's going to allow you a more forgiving eye relief and not have to be perfectly aligned to get a good image, the exit pupils on those variable power optics are much higher, because the exit pupil, and I'm getting ready to talk more about this in the whole kind of class on this when I'm doing the zero compromise, but your exit pupil is your objective lens diameter divided by the magnification. So the larger the exit pupil, the clearer the image, the easier, more forgiving the eye box, and the brighter the image as well. So when you have a fairly large, it's still not huge. I forgot what I think it's like, I don't know what the objective diameter on the most variable power optics are, but the point is that we're only going to 8 power at most. So you're dividing that number by 8 as opposed to dividing a 50 or 56 millimeter objective lens by 25 or 30, so now we're reducing that exit pupil way down. So it's much, you got to get perfect in there. You got to get your eye aligned, your body aligned, and the eye, the optic, and the target aligned perfectly. So, you know, that's not what you want. You don't want a unforgiving scope essentially in that eye box when you're going from here to here very quick in CQB situations. And the same is, you have that same issue with ACOGs, is because you have this fixed variable power. Even on the ACOG, man, I always remember running that thing and doing CQB drills with it when I was assigned one of those. And, you know, it's easy to mess up that that eye alignment and to jack up that eye relief to where you're not mounting it perfectly the same way. You need something a little bit more forgiving. Yep, the Credo. It's actually called something else now. It's no longer the Trijicon Credo. I forgot what it's called.
I thought the Credo was the new name.
Maybe it is the name.
Yeah, it used to be called something else. I think Credo's the new name.
You're right. Summer's right. I'm incorrect.
Of course she is.
Someone had a question about a 308 and the PC5
Yep,
bipod.
Michael Pierre.
Oh, here we go.
A 16-inch 308 with 15-inch handguard. Where are you placing your accurate PC5 when you're
Accutac.
All right, so what I always do, Mike, is I always try to ultimately you at least want to be able to reach your bipod from behind your gun and adjust it, right? Especially with something like that where you can adjust it for pan and tilt. So I want to at least be able to reach it, but it's far enough away. The further you are toward the muzzle, the more stability you're going to get and the more support it's going to give the gun. Ultimately, though, we got to find that happy balance of like, hey, I can reach up here and adjust this real quick. I'm not having to come way off the gun or come off the gun completely to grab it. So, and I'll tell you, any of the Accutacs, they're much more wider. They give more stability than just about any of the bipods out there on the market. So you're getting more stability. Even if you put it in a less than optimal spot, you're getting more stability out of that bipod than you are some of the other bipods out there.
I feel like a 15-inch hair guard, even my little T-Rex arm.
Hair guard?
He said hair guard.
Yeah.
Hair guard. You don't even have any hair to guard, Jay.
Here's what just happened.
I'm bald and beautiful, Chris.
I just talked about that moment of clarity that
The
Jason
moment
had.
of lucidity is gone.
He blew it. Now he won't be smart for another month. It's got to build up, and then he's going to come out with some like really profound
Genius
stuff. Like
stuff.
God.
angels are going to sing.
He's saving his genius.
I feel like that. I feel like I could reach that pretty easily though, if it's all the way out at 15 inches.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
Even with your arms, Jay?
Like, yeah,
He's
that's
saying
what I'm
if he puts
saying.
it at the end of
If
the
you
Say,
put
hand,
it
I
at
could-
the
he'd
I
still
could
be
reach
able to
past
reach
it,
it.
You'd
yeah.
still be able to reach it to manipulate it.
Well, yeah, but it's 15 inches also behind an action, laying probably most likely laying in the prone, and you're
Behind a
also
buttstock.
behind a buttstock. So it's really 15 inches plus at least another 15 inches behind action and buttstock.
So that's about 77 inches.
That's correct.
So you can
Okay.
still reach that.
You'd be all
That's
right.
correct, Rain Man.
Bottom comment is a good question.
Yeah. So, Mike, I don't like there's a couple of ACCS reticles. Some of those are the MIL ACCS or MOA, and then there's also the basically BDC, the ballistic drop compensated reticles. I freaking hate, do not recommend any BDC reticle. To me, they're absolutely pointless and worthless because that reticle was based on a certain cartridge shooting at a certain velocity out of a certain barrel and a certain ammo.
What's BDC?
If I remember correct, go ahead.
Ballistic drop compensated.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So what we're talking about is essentially a reticle that has markings on it that says, you know what, if you're shooting 5.56, this line represents 200 yards. This
Right.
line represents 100 and so forth.
Gotcha.
The problem is that they never work. And now you're stuck to that caliber and putting that optic on there. I have a mil dot on that 1-8 Trijicon, as well as I have mil everything else as well. But I can take those optics, I can put it on anything. Yeah, I need to learn my hold offs and figure that out, but you're going to have to do the same thing. You're going to have to remember, all right, when I actually shoot 200 yards with my rifle and the ammunition I'm using in this environment, in these conditions, that 200 mark is actually too low. I need to hold higher, or vice versa, right? You know, if you're just
So those marks might as well not be labeled. You just need to know where your gun is in relation to the marks.
Yeah, so you just
you might as
and you're
well
gonna have
get-
to do that anyhow.
Yeah.
So like I know like, hey, you know what? On my rifle, it's this at this distance, or all I'm doing is holding up or down at this distance. So I'm not a fan of any of the BDC reticles. I think they're pointless. I think they're kind of gimmicky.
think-
Now you can. Here's where they can come in handy. Is you can load your ammo, and you can play around a lot with your velocities. If you're loading your own ammo and all this other stuff, to where you can make those align pretty good until you change air density. But now that's not going to line up in the winter versus if you're shooting in the summer, or if you start changing elevation. Now you're relying on something that you don't know about. Now, when I have my mill reticle in there, I know I need to take all that stuff into account. I need to think about that and make sure that I'm accounting for that information, because the answers aren't right there. But when the answers are right there, we just immediately revert to that. And in 98% of the time, they're going to be wrong.
The last, well, not the last, but one of the mid-range carbine classes last year, someone had a BDC reticle, and you're like, they were having all kinds of issues with it, and you're like,
Every
this
time.
is why. And it
Every
was a perfect
time.
learning
You just
example
kick it
for
right off
everyone
the
else there.
rifle.
Yeah, no, I mean, it happens every single time.
Chuck
Every
it in the
time.
woods.
Every time that somebody shows up with a BDC reticle, all they do is get frustrated, because now it's one thing if you're just putting a big, huge steel target out at, a full-size minute of man, right? We can shoot, give you iron sights that aren't zeroed, and I'll probably have you shooting, minute of man out to 400 or 500 yards. There's not that much.
So the BDC one you're saying is on the reticle itself has the drop marks on it.
Yep.
It's not the one that you're cranking that you go, you know what I mean? That you
making
crank from 50 to 75 to
allow
100.
It does allow you to make adjustments, and there are some scopes that have BDC turrets that will actually have like 200 on the turret or whatever else.
Yeah, I think my Vortex on my 6.5 has that, where on my scope, I think it does. It might be another one.
Sure.
But you can crank it once you zero. I think it recommends zeroing it at 100, and once you have it zeroed at 100, you can crank it, and it makes the adjustments.
That's
for you.
usually, most of them are designed to be 0 to 100.
Okay.
So, and then like,
I don't have much experience with these scopes. I've never seen them, and maybe that's the good thing.
yeah, and then I'll have like.
I'm really versed in the 3x9 to 40 Tascos and Bushnells. And
Also, Michael, thank you for catching us live this time. Here you go.
come back next week.
Come on back.
Long
So
time
that's
channel
what
lurker.
that's what it looks
Okay,
like.
so it's a freaking bow sight.
Yeah. So go ahead and throw that up there
It's
for
a- it's a
people that
bow-
don't know.
It's a bow sight. Oh,
that's
going
the
way
white
too
one. Oh.
right.
That's
Jeez.
whiter
There you
than
go.
Gary. Oh,
You
God.
kind of got it.
Wait.
Tilt
Push
it.
it
There you go.
closer to
Yeah, there
the
you go.
target.
Hello. It's not going to ever focus.
All right. Anyways, next time we'll have some. That's
Yeah.
good.
Has a lot of numbers and lines on
But
it.
those of you that are asking about BDC, again, go look at BDC
I'm sure
reticle.
they can
You can
Google
pull it
it.
up.
Yeah, I've
Not
never.
a big deal.
Huh. Looks like a bow
Jason
sight
has
to
asked
me.
this question a couple times. Are you planning
Yeah.
to get the Daniel Defense ARs back in stock?
We sure are. Some
We
are order
can't-
some time now.
We
Jason,
can
let us-
anytime.
Yep.
I'll be honest. Sometimes they sit, sometimes they fly. So anything like that, guys, that you're looking for and you want, hit me up and I'll give you a price and see what's in stock.
That's just like with anything, folks, we're always trying to figure out and manage our resources and
Yep.
figure out what we need to buy and what we need to stock, because everything moves in waves, right?
does.
And it's like we'll sell 50 ARs at one point, and then we order 25 more to
then they
replace
sit
those,
for 6
and they
months.
sit for 6 months to a year. So, we're always trying to stay current and just manage those resources where we're not having tens of thousands of dollars sitting on the shelf.
Oh, here we go. Long range. First of all, if you're a lefty, you're not allowed to be watching us.
Yes.
Right? You're either right-handed or wrong-handed. I just
Wrong-handed.
want to
First of
throw
all,
that out there.
like I told someone on the range, all you need to know is that Obama was left-handed. No, all right. 6 year as a digital BDC, and you can input all the same info as you would in your Kestrel. It uses AB software, pretty decent out to 600 yards. And that's fine. I get all that, but number one, you're already using a ballistic solution app.
Right.
So, but when you don't have that ballistic solution app, now do you know that data? And there again, I think
So either way, you got to learn the data.
you got to learn the data. You got to learn your hold off. So you might as well have a gun that is consistent. Because there again, get out there, shoot long distance, shoot one time with a BDC, shoot a few times without, and I promise you, at the end of the day, you'll come out like, either a mill or MOA, which again, I would definitely go mill, but for lots of good reasons there. But you'll see that it is an inferior solution in my opinion. But it is what it is. Mike Perez, the Straylock app being blackballed. What are you? I've always used Applied Ballistics, Mike. I have like 6 different apps on my phone. I've tried Straylock. I still have Straylock on there. Actually, I don't. So it was on my old phone. I literally just traded in my phone, so the new phone is going to have it. There's a couple
Why
other.
is it being blackballed?
I don't remember exactly. I think they got into some sort of copyright issue. I don't know if
Gotcha.
somebody's smarter up there, but basically they weren't allowing. If you had it downloaded, it would still work. But if you tried to update it or re-download it, it's no longer available
On the App Store.
on the App Store, and I don't know why. What the reason is
Gotcha.
beyond for that. So I've always used Applied Ballistics. It's a little bit more expensive.
ATF probably shut them down.
Probably.
Boom, boom, boom. Open the door. ATF.
Yeah. Applied Ballistics is awesome. You know, again, you can use that across, you know, a lot of the software out there is Applied Ballistics. And if you're using one ballistic solution across many platforms, so if you're, you know, you can get laser rangefinders that have Applied Ballistics in there. You can get your Kestrel, obviously, with Applied Ballistics. And if you're using the app, Applied Ballistics, to me, it just makes sure that everything jiving. Now, again, you know, the real answer, and this is one thing that we're going to talk about this week in the long range course, folks, is, you know, you got to take data. At the end of the day,
It's all about data.
I've watched so many people,
Data.
you know, make sure that you're taking the data on your data books and you're figuring out what your gun is doing. So many people end up spending so much time where they're like, oh, my gun is hitting here, but my app says it should be doing X, Y, and Z. Folks, there's 50 things in there that you have to plug in and get correct to get the exact right solution. But the reality is if I'm shooting and I know what the density altitude is, and I know what my range is that I'm shooting, I'm hitting, and I record that, and then I take my training sessions and I make me a data book, says, hey, you know what, Gary, at this density altitude or this temperature, if I'm shooting at 650 yards, I'm at 4.2 or whatever it is, right? You know what? I don't need Applied Ballistics to tell me that. Like, you can do that, and it's easy to figure out the solution. And I will tell you this, folks, you know, when we get students out there and we're forcing them to actually record their data in a data book, it becomes, you start remembering. And I remember so many people have told me this, like, oh, I've never done this before. I just do whatever, you know, the app tells me to do, but then they don't remember. They don't remember that data. So when I don't sell dope books, John, that's something I'm actually working on. I want to.
But we do sell awesome books.
He had that thing in the holster just ready to shoot.
Where is Tyler? I
mean, that thing was holstered for
I
a
want to get full
while.
auto fingers away from the buttons back there.
We still need to get that
I
design.
got myself. I couldn't wait for it to
He's still, if y'all can see Jay's face right now,
Oh man,
That made his whole week right there.
did.
Anyways, going back to the questions that the viewers have as opposed to entertaining ourselves. Yeah, so I don't have a dope book. I use
awesome.
I think it's
remember you
Impact.
pulled it up
Yeah,
there?
Impact.
Impact data books.
Impact data books. But with that being said,
Yeah, Impact.
I'm not. They're not perfect. I don't like them. There's several things that I would like to change in, and I plan on making our own as well as our own targets. I have some long range targets that I have conceptually designed. I haven't got around to actually putting it to paper and designing them, but I'm working on that
Well,
too.
you tried to pay Jackson to, and he gave up halfway through the project.
He was about 20 minutes in.
designed.
So my point is, regardless of if you have a dope book or whatever else, if you take down that data, folks, you'll start to remember that, and you'll actually know where to start to begin with, and you'll get to a point where you have most of your data actually memorized. So, you know, make sure that you're recording that stuff and committed to memory, or it will just happen naturally too. If you're writing it down every single time and taking copious notes and then taking that information, putting it on your own drop card that you built using real world confirmed data, right? Instead of getting it off of a machine that, you know, you could have one thing in there wrong, the height over bore wrong, or it might have the BC for the bullet wrong, and now you're not making impacts, and you're sitting there figuring out why your gun, it's like my gun's wrong. Not my this piece of electronic equipment. I see people with that on their face, and it's like, no, there's 50 data points in there, 50 variables that you have to get right to make sure that this is doing the same thing as the gun.
I think that's what you were trying to say earlier, and that people are trying to make their gun match up to the app, and not the app match what they're not taking in what their gun's actually doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, my
Gotta
zero
listen to
is
the
wrong,
computer.
or whatever else. Like, no, it's the computer that's
Your
wrong.
gun's doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's provable. What?
Yeah. Mike can throw that up.
Bottom.
I went through a bunch of different dope books and settled on a lot. Yeah, and part of that, folks, is Right in the Rain makes some really good stuff, and there's actually lots of companies that make data books using Right in the Rain paper, which is great too. A lot of it, even what I'm saying, a lot of this is personal preference. So
I think he's just saying just plain lined.
no, he's saying a data. Right in the Rain does make.
No, he's saying I settled on lined Right in the Rain books.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
They're just the plain little notebooks.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
or compact and
Right in the Rain
freeform,
does
yeah.
make some data books. I read that incorrect.
Yeah.
You were right. Michael Pereira says.
I'm glad that was recorded.
Whoa.
I
Let
said
me
that
make
like 3
sure we
times.
have
Rewind
that on
that.
camera.
Rewind that, Jay.
I say that like I've said that like 3 times tonight. Go
In
to
your
Michael Perez.
life. 3 times in your life.
Michael, yeah, P. I don't want to butcher
All right,
his name.
let's stay on task here. Michael Pereira, 16-inch versus 18.
On the 308.
I don't think it matters. Like
Yeah,
there's not a big enough difference there, Mike. If you were asking me, 24 inches versus 16. Well, now we're talking about significant difference. You're probably talking about a 30 to 40 foot per second difference tops between a 16 and 18 inch. So, if you're going that short already, I mean, I would just go ahead and go with 16.
Mm-hmm.
You're not changing enough. You're not changing enough muzzle velocity there. You're not losing a big enough difference between 16 and 18 to make a difference. So just go 16.
But what advantage does the 16 have over the 18 though? Why not just get the
it's
18?
lighter.
Okay.
Or just get the 18. You're and again, that's another thing. Like, is it that much lighter than the 18? No. Is 18 much lighter than 20?
It's ounces. Yeah.
But there's been some studies. I think like you start losing some of the optimal. There's not a big difference between 26-inch and 22, but after like 22-inch, I think I remember reading a pretty comprehensive study on 308 and going to short barrels. Is like 22 and below, you do start to lose. You're starting to lose a more significant level of range, right? Because you're losing some more muzzle velocity out there.
Gotcha.
But there again, you're still going to be supersonic out to even with a 16-inch barrel. I bet you'd be supersonic out to 700 yards still. So, cutting barrel length off doesn't change muzzle velocity enough as much as most people think. I used to always hear that there was a rule of thumb of 50 feet per second per inch. It's more like 15 in most cases.
John says, should we bring a dope book with us for the long range class?
So we're going to provide you a dope book, John. We have a kind of a dope book that we give everybody. There's some other information in there. It gives you a place to start. Just make sure everybody. But that being said, if you have a dope book, I would say especially if you are shooting your rifle. I think there's only one person shooting our rifles.
Yeah, but he's coming in the fall.
Okay. I would bring your own dope book. There's nothing wrong with that. My only kind of hesitance to say on that is that like you might figure out that your dope book is very different than what we might suggest or you might even like.
Well, either way, you get the one we have, and if you need to use that, then
Well, I guess what I'm saying is I think with a little bit of experience, you might have more information to pick a dope book you like.
gotcha.
As opposed to spending $60 because they're not cheap.
No.
Spending $60 ahead of time. But again, you can pretty much do anything with dope books. And most of the dope books, like the impact books, you can actually order. There's like 6 or 7 different data sheets, page types, right? How you're taking that data down. So, you can get one of those and just switch whatever out. It's not the big deal.
I would say, especially if you have data in it, you should bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a blank one. Who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah.
But on this,
100%
on the
of that.
flip side of that, if you don't have one and you don't know what to buy, don't run out and buy
Yeah,
one. Just
yeah,
come
don't
because
buy
we
one.
can provide you one.
Yeah, if you have data in it, definitely bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason, I definitely plan on getting that. I say that with just looking at what we got to get done in the next. That's probably 6-8 months down the road, and it'll probably end up being a year down the road before I know it. It's just the way that these things work. Everything takes longer than you think it is. I mean, that's just the reality of running a business, man. You know, everything just takes twice as much, 2 to 3 times as
and
much.
not in a negative way, but
No.
like we're answering the phone all day, we're putting out fires, we're
Yep.
addressing issues, and then like I have a list for each day, like this to-do list for each day, and I'm lucky if I make it through like half of it accomplished,
Yeah.
and then I'm shifting to the next day. So it's just the natural cycle of things.
Yep, it is. It is.
I work pretty hard around here too.
I know, Jay. Freaking pushing
I mean,
buttons.
shoot, Summer, you answered the phone up until what, a half hour before the show tonight?
Yeah,
I did.
I don't know what time y'all close.
I got
Well,
here a
the
half
official
hour.
Google time is 6.
Okay.
Sometimes I like last night the phone rang at 9:30, and I'm like, okay, we're definitely
That's
not
a little
answering
late.
that.
Yeah,
it's
Mike.
a little late.
Trying to watch American
Mike
Idol
says,
here.
Thanks for sharing. You're absolutely welcome, Mike. That's why we do this.
Oh yeah, definitely hit the thumbs up.
Yeah, everybody,
Notifications.
do us a favor and go through videos. Look, here's the thing: people that are just assholes are going to be the first ones to hit the down
Oh,
The
thumbs
dislike.
down, which hurts us, right? It hurts our reach.
I tell you
So
what,
if-
though, Gary will tell you about it if you say anything. I'm going to vouch for that one.
I will
My
not say
God.
Chris, let me tell you, for that one comment that he posted, there's a million others we get on a day. He gets on a daily
He
basis.
did another
That-
one, and he sent it to me like 2 minutes after. He goes, "Thought you'd enjoy this one."
I told him to
And I
send
was
it to you.
I was at work. I was like, "Oh, I needed this today."
I do. I definitely. I'd say a good 90% of them I either don't answer or just delete.
Right. That one was.
No,
I liked it.
and I don't. Again, and I mentioned this to somebody else that was saying some things about that. You know, when somebody says something stupid, I don't want to phrase this. I have no problems, and I actually genuinely really appreciate,
Constructive criticism.
constructive criticism.
Correct, yes.
100%. If like you tell, but if you're just gonna be an asshole, where it's like, I owe you something. Like I put
I
out.
owe you a video.
I spend 8 to 10 hours at a minimum, probably on average, of videos,
And you picked the wrong song
and the wrong song, which wasn't
for
about,
that one person.
they didn't even get the point that I was trying. It was like, it's a stupid song.
No, I
hate
know
it.
you don't have to go down the rabbit
Anyways.
hole, but yeah, you're right.
Anyways, the point being, if you think I owe you something, you're stupid. Like, I'm not going to debase myself. I'm like, oh, please don't leave. Please watch my
Please
videos.
watch my videos.
Please watch my
Do you have to change your voice?
that's exactly how they sound.
Oh, okay.
That's when they said it.
Oh,
I
okay.
can tell that's how they
So
sound.
it's like the snowflake sound.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Carrie, why did you play that song?
Why?
I'm upset and triggered.
I'm really lacking on some testosterone.
I hate
Yeah.
the song.
My name
but
is Jay.
Anyways,
Oh, God.
but if you're gonna say something stupid, I'm gonna meet you with the same energy if I reply to you. A lot of times you get deleted, but
unless you're on Twitter.
sometimes I go
Oh,
nuclear.
Twitter. Stand
Twitter
by.
is
Oh,
wild.
Elon.
All right, so
Oh, Daddy
let's
Elon.
put all this stuff aside. Let's actually answer some questions.
And don't
here.
forget
Jeff
about
has
what's on the
one,
floor
he's
too,
in-
Gary.
Jeff's asked that one
Yes,
twice.
I'm gonna hit that for sure. All right, so IR lasers. I am currently looking into IR. I haven't tried the new EOTech OGL. I will say one of our clients, Otter, actually over on Rumble, he bought the new HoloSun one, which is really very affordable.
What's IR stand for some other people out there?
Infrared laser, infrared,
Infrared.
infrared, infrared. Anyways,
Infrared.
Road.
I think I need to get with him on that. See how he likes that. See how that is. There's lots of good solutions out there now. There's lots of new solutions that are available to civilians that used to not be. That is something now that we have a store, I plan on getting hard and heavy into. And most importantly, we have the training area where we can start doing some focusing on some no light, low light stuff using IR aiming devices and or light
That
intensification
sounds awesome.
and thermals. So those are some things that we're working on. I don't have a good answer for you on that, Jeff. I haven't tried that particular optic or aiming device. There was another question up there that I think Mike said earlier.
Yeah, Mike, thoughts on trigger tech?
Oh, I love Trigger Tech. Absolutely love them.
Don't you have them on the shelf?
We do have them on the
We do have
shelf.
them on
We
the shelf.
sell them.
Yeah.
I love all of their long range triggers. I like their AR triggers. I will say that I definitely prefer the Elfman Tactical over the Trigger Tech triggers
For AR.
for ARs.
I like shooting that Elfman trigger.
I put a Trigger Tech. Part of this was just I'm so used to the Elfman and the way that it runs. There's some slack in both are excellent triggers, but I definitely prefer the Elfman. So Trigger Tech, you won't go wrong.
Is
It's
it a
not
shorter
even,
pull on the Elfman?
it's yeah, the resets crisper. There's if you don't like single stage triggers, then go with the Trigger Tech. It's basically a 2-stage trigger. I don't like 2-stage triggers in any of my guns. If you like single stage triggers and you want your AR trigger to feel just like a really nice 1911, then get yourself an Elfman.
I like the reset on the Elfman.
The reset
What
is it's just super
Yep.
short, but it's also you can feel it even when you're shooting fast. You can feel that, and it trains your finger to get to that reset point quick and not go any further. Just love them. Just love them. But you both are excellent trigger companies, and it is what it is.
Bobby Hoover here.
Bobby Hoover. I said, thanks, Bobby. We appreciate you, brother. Mike says, I vetted your channel and watched a lot of the past videos. I was impressed and subscribed. I was researching bipods set on the Accutech PC5 video was a big reason. Good.
I will say
Awesome.
the Accutech, the latest Accutech video that we did, that was the only video I think I'm in. And I have got several calls on that today. It must be high in the
Trending.
views, trending
Trending.
on our channel.
It's funny how that does. Like a video that will we might get a bunch of views at first. Usually we'll have a video that gets a bunch of views at first, and then it kind of falls by the wayside. And all of a sudden, like we'll have this resurgence of that particular video for whatever reason.
I had I
be odd
talked to
things, too.
several people today. They're like, I watched your guys' video on that, and I have questions about these 2 models, and they wanted me to help them choose.
Luckily, they were talking to the lady in the video, the subject matter expert. Which we got to get you more videos, babe.
I know. I'm just always busy doing
My man
other
Daniel
things.
over here.
What's the difference between one
Yeah.
stage and
That's
two
actually
stage?
that's a good question for people out there.
The one stage comes before the 2 stage.
We need
So-
a real answer, Gary.
Hey, come on.
right. So here's the difference between one stage and 2-stage trigger. So with one stage, you're basically pretty much at the wall, right? There's no real take up in a single stage trigger. Think of it. Those of you who shot a 1911, that's what it feels like, right? With a 2-stage trigger, there is more take up, some resistance, and here's the other problem. Here's why I don't like this. A lot of AR triggers, really, it's not a 2-stage trigger. It's just slop. It's just slop in the mechanism that you're taking up, and then you hit the wall, right? And then you break through that release point. So that is the difference. There's some take up, some resistance, and again, it shouldn't be sloppy. But again, a lot of, whether we're talking about pistol triggers or AR triggers, we consider that a 2-stage trigger, but a lot of that's just a shitty trigger that just takes a lot of slop and then
I agree. I
creep.
disagree. I really like however you say it, my Geisley. Is that it?
Geisley.
Geisley.
Not a fan of Geisley triggers.
I have a 2-stage.
I think
2-stage on
I do
my
too.
18-inch.
Yeah.
And I like that. So when you pull it up, because it's a hair at the end.
and if you are used to shooting like that,
I mean, it's the difference between, like you said, a 1911 or a Glock. That's pretty much how the 2 triggers are at. You have all that slop,
Sure.
but you get to the wall.
you're not wrong.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I will say there's very few people that I've had that shot a single stage trigger for like a day that wasn't completely sold on it and never shot. And that
I think
includes
repetition
me.
would be huge on
And
it.
that includes me. So I did not like a single stage trigger in my ARs, and I had on 2 of my guns, I had the Geisley, I think it was called the SD, the Super Dynamic, which had a 2-stage, and I love those good triggers if you like 2-stage. And then I think Elfman sent me one of their triggers to test, and I didn't like it at first, but man, I'll tell you,
And it was single stage Elfman.
you can check mine out. Yeah.
Oh, I'd have to. I know that Geisley for a long
You
time.
spend
though.
a
It's nice,
day,
though.
you spend a day getting used to it, and it is, to me, in my opinion, a far superior trigger.
I know that
Okay.
someone commented that Trigger Tech recently came out with an AR single stage. I know they also came out with a lower priced AR trigger recently.
Really?
So,
well, maybe I'll
Mike-
just buy one of them.
Mike, technically the trigger that I had just, and again, I'm a huge Trigger Tech fan. The Trigger Tech that I actually
And he
got
ain't
one
even
of
drinking.
their single stage triggers, and I put it in there, and it is, but there's like this Radley take up. It's just like a 16th of an inch, and it is a single stage, but that's what I'm talking about. They're like this, it's just like almost loose there. I didn't like it.
It didn't even stay in there long enough for me to even try it out.
I shot it. I used it for like 3 days, and I tried to give it I was out on the range for 3 days, working with a private training client, doing a bunch of other stuff. I gave it 3 days, and then I was like, you know what? I don't like this. I'm not shooting as well, and I just didn't like it. So, again, if you put a Trigger Tech in your gun, or even a Geisley, even though I'm not the biggest fan, I think Geisley is kind of stuck where they've been. I think Trigger Tech's Trigger Tech and Elfman are better triggers. All of those are superior triggers, night and day to anything you're going to end up with a stock AR trigger. Right?
Look at Jeff right at the end, right there. Go up two more, Jay.
Yeah, flat triggers.
Jeff always.
Flat,
Jeff
flat.
asked
All
a
day.
question that
All-
all day.
Yeah.
Do we have any Elfman triggers over there on the shelf over there?
I think they might be in the trailer.
My Geisley's a flat, but I just was wondering.
But yeah, I use flat triggers in all my guns too. So
I like flat triggers also.
from long range
you don't
to
have any
pistol
guns.
to rifle,
Oh,
I put
I
eight
borrowed
pounds.
Gary's
the
and they have
guns you
flat-
use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I borrowed Gary's and they're flat triggers, so I like
He's like, I like the flat triggers and the guns I use.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like
love
we're gonna
those.
get your 30-06 and we'll throw
I
a little
really
I like
a flat
all the
trigger
flat
group
triggers
in for
in
it.
Gary's guns.
He's like, Gary, grab a gun. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
I need one.
When he brings me one without a flat trigger, I say, "What's this?"
What is this crap?
He throws it at me. He's like, what do I look like, a peasant?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Oh,
Only
okay.
curved.
Only
Only
curved.
curved.
Flats in the trailer. Yeah, flat triggers, huge on those. So if
it's
anybody
pronounced
cares to know the
huge.
difference between flat and curved and my overall thoughts of the advantages
One
of
looks
so
like this. One looks like this.
done.
Very, very, very technical.
I've seen a commercial on TV about that
So
too.
anyways,
Just using a
look,
carrot.
here's the deal. When you got a curved trigger, you're basically pulling behind that axis. So if you took a flat trigger and a curved trigger, they were both exactly the same triggers. They were both set the exact same weight. You're going to have more leverage on that flat trigger. It's going to feel lighter weight, the exact same weight, and it's going to feel overall smoother, and that you're going to feel like you have more control because you're not pulling behind the axis.
The folk.
So you essentially have more leverage on that, and once you start shooting flat triggers, folks, once you go flat, you never go back.
Well,
It's
that's
just the way
why
it
the
is.
seesaws are straight. You don't have curved seesaws. You know what I mean? Think about it that way.
I do.
Because the
Flat triggers look cooler too.
They do
And
look
on
cool.
that note,
All
I'll
right,
probably be shutting this down for now.
we gotta get this giveaway.
Yeah, you got a
Oh, yeah.
giveaway. That's what I keep showing.
That was bait and switch. I wasn't
Oh.
actually going to do it. I just wanted
Everybody can
I
log
wanted
off now.
everyone to hang out to the end.
Yeah,
Good
man.
job, guys. You fell for it, you suckers.
Hooray!
Man, I'll tell you what, they stuck in for a marathon.
All
tonight.
right.
It was a good one tonight.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. Well, we have some in stock, Jason. They're just in a different location. So
Summer for the win.
they should be on the website. If
She's
they're
always
not,
the
we'll
winner.
fix that because we do have them
I
in
will
stock.
fix it if I'm checking now.
She's fixing
let's
it
get to
now.
this
Summer's
giveaway.
always for the win. That's why she picked me. She's a winner. She knows how to choose them.
Oh, that poor girl.
All right, let's do a giveaway. We're gonna give away that. Pick up that range bag. Let 'em see
Oh,
what
we're
they
gonna have
get.
this one again.
Yep, we're gonna give that one away. This one,
This
and I'm
one.
gonna put a sweet
What
little
is this?
love note in there.
Is it FDE or is this Coyote?
FDE
something
Coyote.
tan.
There's like
Hold on, I'll look at the tag.
dark FDE.
Oh, it's dark FDE.
dark FDE.
Look at this. Man.
Look at
Look
that.
at the two. It's got the two like Grand Sport stripes on it, and
Yeah.
they're Velcro.
Yeah, you can put some Velcro.
That's how
stuff.
you know it's a race.
You can put your
That's
name
for your
on it.
patches.
We need to get a Paramount Velcro patch. We don't
You
have
can put
those
your
yet.
you can put your Cowabunga. It is
Those are racing stripes.
Michelangelo.
Those
Yeah,
are racing
that's what I said. The
stripes.
Grand Sport stripes off of a
My
Corvette.
phone's not working. Jason, I'm trying to fix it.
All right.
No, this is sweet.
So here's what we're gonna do. Pick a number between 1 and 100. Hold on. Let me write something down. What are we gonna go with? Ooh, I got it. There it is. Got it.
What? Don't
They can't see it.
Gary, they can
We were
see
trying
it.
to we were trying to show them stuff all day and suddenly they're gonna see something I wrote in
They look for your
This is
doodles.
sweet. Can I-
11.
Can I put in for this?
No.
This is nicer than my range
No.
bag. Damn it! I'll tell you another thing that's really nice about this.
All right,
Hold
here we
on,
go.
they're picking numbers.
That's
Picking
fine.
numbers already.
How
But look
how
at-
long are
Jay,
we
put
giving
it on
them?
my camera real quick.
Yeah, give him his camera.
Give me my camera. Look
All
at
right.
the thickness of the shoulder strap.
Yeah.
It's like
And
an,
notice that it's ergonomically curved
Look
in
at
the
that
right
thing.
direction.
look at
All
that.
right, hey, pay attention.
Oh,
We're not done yet, so
did
just
you rumble?
calm down.
Why is it rumble?
Oh, yeah. Make sure you guys.
Rumble needs to be thrown in numbers.
It
I'm
is-
I'm watching Rumble.
Nobody's throwing in numbers there.
Rumble. Make sure
This
you guys
number-
are.
This number.
So
this
we're going to go
number-
to 8:51.
One
We got to
guess each.
8:51.
One guess each.
One.
And I think Gary
Thank you,
said he's
Theodore. One
Gary
guess
said he's going to
each.
throw in a Glock 19 with this. Is that what he said?
No.
Are you trying to get me hemmed up? Not only is it now you're going to get me canceled off freaking YouTube.
No, a fake one. A fake one.
No, we're not doing. There is none of
But
that.
you will get the free box with the targets.
It's actually really nice.
I wouldn't give him that.
Oh, okay.
Just ship them
I'll
in the
keep that
plastic.
for myself.
Ship it in the plastic bag. I'm taking the box home tonight.
They're really nice range bags.
It's sweet.
Let's see. You get one guess, Theodore.
One
One
guess.
guess.
This. What if they go? Is it just the closest?
All right. Got about 30 seconds left
What?
here.
Who's checking Rumble?
I got Rumble. I only have one on Rumble.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work here. I can't monitor that and
I
work.
got Rumble.
I was looking at just looking back over here at Rumble. Otter, you said 20 feet per second per inch. Again, that depends because I've actually tested that with the on 308, and you start getting into the lower numbers, and you might get around 20 feet per second per inch if you're going from like 26 to 27 inches. But it starts going. I remember like 16 to 18. I was getting like a 12. It was really low. It was like 12 feet per second. I got that written down somewhere, but it is definitely
That was the match Elfman that we always had, right?
the match.
Yeah.
Yes. I believe. I have to
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah, it was, I believe.
All right. It is time. Rounds complete. Go all the way to the bottom. Make sure that we don't have any extra guesses.
No more extras here. I don't see any on Rumble.
All right. Slowly go through that. What do we got? I see 14 on Rumble.
You got 14 on Rumble?
got a 14
Okay,
on Rumble.
I'm not.
The number 14.
Number 14.
Oh yeah.
All right.
People 14.
So scroll through that really slow, Jay.
all right. So we
I
got
saw one that was at least
33.
one digit off.
We don't need you to
76.
read
We don't
them
need to
all.
read. We can
No.
read, Jay. It's okay. Our
Just-
eyes,
just-
our eyes
So
work.
happy.
Listen, follow directions.
Whoa,
Scroll really
so-
slowly.
That one's 4 away.
Ooh, boy.
When you're hot, when you
Think
put your
that's
thing
it.
over it, Jay, we can't see it, but I
I
think
think that's it.
I think.
Oh, yeah. Was anybody on the other?
Well, on Rumble?
Appreciate you, John.
They do, but the number's 14. All right. So correct me if I'm wrong. You guys double check me with this. The
But I
number
think-
was 58.
Ooh.
58, and it looks like
Lloyd
Lloyd Christmas.
Castleton. His name's not Christmas.
Oh, did you get it?
Was
It's
that
Christmas.
57?
It's Christmas for Lloyd.
57. Woo! All right. So, Lloyd, shoot us an email, services at ParamountTactical.com. We'll get all your information.
Good guess.
And
That is a good guess.
you got within
Lucky-
one digit.
Lucky
Good job.
dog.
Go play the lottery again tonight, too.
Yeah.
You won a sweet range bag. Those are, if you didn't win tonight,
Vanna Chris.
guess what? You can make yourself a winner.
I'm gonna rub this all over. Now, if you get it, it smells like me.
He's gonna have Chris's touch.
Smells like hairspray and desperation. It's a quote from.
Oh yeah, here we go. Back yourself up, Gary. That's a quote. It was a quote.
It was. What was
Winner,
that
winner,
show?
chicken dinner.
I don't know.
The fat people.
Congrats. Oh,
Anyways,
I wasn't very nice. I'm sitting right here, Gary.
Fat people.
Thanks, asshole.
Which show with the fat people? There's a lot
the
of them.
fat girl with the mom that went and got all that plastic surgery.
Oh, Honey Boo Boo.
Honey Boo Boo. There you go.
Shallow
Honey
Hal.
Boo Boo.
Yeah.
She's
One of
all grown up
One of
now.
my favorite shows. Just joking.
Lloyd, enjoy your bag.
All right, folks.
That's
Listen, if
awesome.
you haven't done so already, make sure you like, subscribe, go through our videos, hit like, throw a comment down there. That helps us a lot. Yeah. And Lloyd, you're a winner chicken dinner
Make sure you
tonight.
send that email.
We will do more of these for sure. You know, I'm really looking forward to. We got internet at the new shop, and it's already up and running. We're definitely going to do a live stream from the shop. I
Oh,
think that'd be
that'll be
really
fun.
fun.
Oh yeah.
And there's even
man.
really good internet out on the ranges. I want to actually we'll do a live stream out on the range at some point.
Ooh, maybe we should take one of your cars around the track too.
Like a sun. Ooh,
Summer should do a J turn in her
Yeah,
car.
I got to do a J turn
Do it
this
in
past
her-
weekend.
Well, do it
we
in your
didn't-
own vehicle.
No, we didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about the driving course and how much fun
Yes.
everyone had.
Folks, and again,
and
I
how
can't
much they
even
learned.
begin to tell you how proud I am of being able to offer that driving course. That was so
jealous.
cool. The people that attended, they can tell you, I took testimonials from everybody there on camera. I got to get them all processed. But with that being said, folks, we have the off-road high-performance driving course coming up. You definitely want to check that out. If you're coming from out of town, which most people are, again, there's plenty of things to do nearby. There's plenty of lodging nearby. It is a course you'll definitely want to take. Anyways.
But anyway, everybody had a blast. They learned a lot. They left ecstatic with the weekend that they had. And even I was ecstatic at my J turn.
You did a great job, man. I can't
Did
wait.
you ride with
The
her,
next
Gary?
one, the next high performance driving course, we're definitely gonna get Summer into the full course and have her.
And I have a
Take
new
that.
appreciation for Dodge Chargers.
Yeah, Jeff, I appreciate that. Jeff says he's excited for Paramount Tactical and what
Hell
the
yeah.
future holds. Me too. What else? we
Onward
got
and
going?
upward.
Lloyd
All
said-
right, folks.
Lloyd
Well, we
sent
are
the
going to
email.
call it a night. Listen, we
Oh, he sent the
appreciate you.
email.
We'll get this winter chicken dinner little handbag in the mail, the range bag.
Little.
Hey.
That's
I know that's
It's
sweet.
not little.
No, it's sweet. You're gonna like that a lot. Anyways, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you next Wednesday for sure. Go buy some stuff. Go to our website, buy some
Get
stuff.
these
That's-
saviors.
we gotta raise some money to get this.
Buy these
Get this
guitar
new
cases.
shop filled.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We got so much stuff to buy for displays. All this. Anyways, until next time.
Donate.
Stay armed. Stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.